kind of the individual components of this file and how to use that so that you can quickly create those OpenAP import templates. So starting in column H, which is the NetSuite, where kind of my NetSuite formulas start to pull in, this is the internal ID for the vendor, and that's pulling in from this name map that you can use for your own purposes, where I would take the QuickBooks company name, and then you would have the NetSuite name and then the NetSuite internal ID. And so this is pulling in via XLOOKUP to grab that name ID. And columns I and J, I'm using this for preparing an external ID to be included on our import. And this is just a good way to reference in the future if you need to link like what bill related to which transaction in NetSuite. And it's also going to be really important for the journal entry upload that I'll go over in just a couple of minutes. The column K is the NetSuite transaction type. And so in the transaction type map tab, this is where I'm identifying how each QuickBooks transaction type is going to be imported into NetSuite. And most of these should be pretty straightforward. And the only exception being the bill payment check and the bill payment credit card. So in QuickBooks, you can create an unapplied vendor payment where you would have a vendor payment that's not being applied to a vendor bill. So NetSuite won't allow you to do that. And so that can become problematic when you're loading that OpenAP bounce. So what I typically do is load those unapplied vendor payments as journal entries. Hopefully you've cleaned up most of those unapplied vendor payments and you won't have too many of these on your AP aging if you have any at all. But if you do, you'll have to import those as journal entries. And I'll go over how to create those in just a couple minutes. Otherwise, we're bringing in our AP account internal ID. We're bringing in our suspense account internal ID. I've got kind of a standard memo that we'll include, and the posting period and the approval status. Just as that reminder that, hey, we need to update and make sure that our workflows aren't making us do any kind of approvals for the vendor bills. And then finally, I've got an amount formula. And this is really, all this is doing is flipping the vendor credit types to be from a negative, the way they appear on the QuickBooks AP aging, and we're flipping that to be a positive number. The only other tab, this other variables tab, you'll need to update this to pull in the appropriate IDs and posting period for your own situation. As a reminder, the posting period, this is the period where we're going to be loading all of our transactions, so that the GL impact of this entire process is only impacting the November 2023 posting period. Okay, so now we've gone over kind of this tab. In your case, you're most likely going to have more rows than I do. So go ahead and copy and paste these blue rows down as far down in the file as you need them. And then once you've done that, go ahead and make sure you update the filter so that it's including all of the columns and the rows. And we're just going to go ahead now and basically filter and select these individual transaction types and put them into the appropriate import templates below. And typically, you're only going to bring in vendor bills, vendor credits, and journals for OpenAP. So those are that's why I only have those tabs down there. But if you have other transaction types, you can go ahead and add those as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with vendor bills. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to copy those in, and I'm going to bring those in with the values in the number format. And so now I really quickly have my import template ready to go with all the required columns. And so I'm going to do the same thing for my vendor credits, where I'm going to copy that, I'm going to filter, copy those, and I'm going to copy the values in the number formats. And there we go. And then the journal entry is a little bit trickier, so I'll go over that here. We'll select the journal entry and copy the journal entry tab, the rows. I'm going to copy that in. And so this tab, what we're going to need to do is we're going to, so every journal entry is going to need 2 lines, right? And so that's what kind of makes this a little bit tricky, is that I need to copy the row, each row twice, right? So this kind of looks a little bit funny because I've got only 1 journal entry line. So you might have a couple more, but I'm just going to make a space here to distinguish what's the original line. And then this bottom section would be the modified lines that I'm going to update. So we've loaded kind of the line, we copied and pasted the lines twice. And so on the second set of lines, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to flip. I'm just going to go ahead and flip that to be the other amount there. I'm just going to click equals and then times -1. And then again, because I only have 1 line, it's pretty easy, but that's going to be an easy way if you've got like 10 or 15 lines to just copy and paste and have the cells reference each other. Then what I'm going to do is go ahead and copy those debit and credits down so that you can see my formula is pulling so that the debits and credits flip. And now you can see that I've got a $300 debit for OpenAP4, and I've got a $300 credit. So this is going to be a valid journal entry when we try to load it. And then the final step is making sure the account ID is correct. So the initial batch, this should reference the AP account ID. And the reason is that the $300, the original open balance is going to reflect the debit or credit position for accounts payable. And so the other side of that is going to be the suspense account. So on the second batch, we're going to go ahead and grab that the suspense account. And so once you've modified that, I'm going to go ahead and delete this row in the middle. You can go ahead and add a filter, and then what I would recommend, right, you're going to want us to filter this by the external ID so that the journal entries get sorted in the correct order. Okay, so now that we've got this template ready to go, the next step is going to be to go ahead and you're going to copy and paste each of these individual tabs into their own CSV file. So, and I'll show you how to do the first one. So I would just do copy, paste, go ahead and create a copy. And then I'm going to go and save this tab as a CSV file. And I'm just going to call it optimal data OpenAP bills. And we'll click save. And then that's it. And so the CSV file will actually break all the formulas, which is fine. And that will, I would recommend keeping the CSV files and the support file all together in one place in case you need to reference it. Okay, so now in the next video, I'm going to go over how to actually import the vendor bill, the vendor credit transactions. So we haven't looked at that yet. And yeah, so we will see you in the next video.